Welcome to Black Sheep Educational Extras. I'm Jane, the AI avatar of Janet Hall Werner, professional genealogist and host of Black Sheep Family History. In these extras, we dive into the history and cultural forces that shaped our ancestors' lives and sometimes help to create the black sheep in our family trees. Hello, this is Jane. I'm the AI avatar of Janet Hall Werner. Today we're going to explore a topic that touches many families' histories: asylums and the history of mental illness treatment in America. For much of our past, mental illness was misunderstood, stigmatized, and often hidden. As genealogists and historians, we can uncover the real experiences of our ancestors by learning how society treated the mentally ill across time. And understanding the history of the treatment of mental illness can help us to understand what records might be available. In colonial America, mental illness was often seen through the lens of religion, so the mentally ill may have been thought of as possessed or sinful or being morally weak. Families frequently bore the burden of care, often keeping mentally ill relatives at home. Public institutions for the mentally ill did not yet exist, so local communities sometimes placed mentally ill individuals in poorhouses or jails. But in 1751, Pennsylvania Hospital in Philadelphia created one of the first dedicated wards for the mentally ill in the colonies. The early 19th century brought reform movements led by figures like Dorothea Dix. She was a nurse in Massachusetts, and she advocated for the creation of state-funded asylums that would treat patients humanely. The moral treatment model emphasized work, recreation, fresh air, and a structured environment. By the mid-1800s, nearly every state had at least one asylum. In terms of the genealogical records that may exist for this time frame, you'll want to research if there might be admission or discharge records for the institution or patient casebooks. More likely, you could find an ancestor listed on the federal census or a state census living in an asylum. For many of us, that's the first record that we find that indicates our ancestor was mentally ill. Once you find that, you can start looking for records from that particular institution, which could include admissions records. These records could also include reports to legislatures and similar items. While these reports are not likely to name individual patients, they can give you a sense of what life was like in the asylum. Asylums became overcrowded as populations grew and treatment options remained limited. The period from the 1870s to the 1930s was marked by overcrowding and neglect. Funding shortages led to poor sanitation, neglect, and harsh restraints. The promise of humane treatment gave way to custodial care. Journalist Nellie Bly went undercover in 1887 at the Blackwell Island Insane Asylum in New York. She was committed without much of an examination, and she reported as follows, quote, "For crying, the nurses beat me with a broom handle and jumped on me. Then they tied my hands and feet, and throwing a sheet over my head, twisted it tightly around my throat so I could not scream, and thus put me in a bathtub filled with cold water. They held me under until I gave up every hope and became senseless," unquote. Eugenics also influenced public policy surrounding asylums in this era, leading to forced sterilizations of asylum patients in the early 20th century. We're going to take a quick break here. Before we go on, a quick reminder that Black Sheep Family History is made possible by viewers and listeners like you. If you're enjoying this educational extra, you can support the series in two ways. First, by joining the Black Sheep Society on Buy Me a Coffee. Members get bonus content every week, including handouts, extra research tips, and other content to help you find the black sheep in your family tree. Or if you'd just like to say thanks, you can also buy me a tea at buymeacoffee.com/Black Sheep Family History. Every bit of support helps me keep bringing you these stories of our not-so-illustrious ancestors. Thanks. Okay, we're back. In terms of genealogical records, look for court petitions, commitment records, admissions records, and newspaper reports that may mention relatives confined during this time. And look at family papers, like letters, that could mention a relative's situation. Regarding commitment records, on Ancestry there are commitment records for 3 state hospitals in California from 1856 to 1923. And if you just Google commitment records or admission records and state hospital, you'll find many commitment records and admissions records from various institutions in this time frame online. Medical advances brought new treatments from the 1930s to the 1960s. Insulin shock therapy, electroconvulsive therapy, called ECT, and psychosurgery, including lobotomies. These treatments were often controversial and could obviously cause lasting or permanent harm. World War II heightened mental health issues among veterans, bringing new public attention to psychiatric care. In the 1950s, new psychotropic medications such as Thorazine began to transform treatment. In terms of genealogical records in this era, it's possible that veterans' records from this period could hold clues about psychological and/or medical treatments. However, it may begin to be more difficult to find records from institutions in this time frame due to privacy concerns about potentially living people. The Community Mental Health Act of 1963 marked a turning point, moving away from large institutions toward community-based care. Many state asylums closed, but community resources were often underfunded, leaving gaps in care. In terms of genealogical records, look for family stories that may mention relatives coming home from institutions, or records may show sudden discharges. But again, there may be issues around privacy during this time frame. Today, the legacy of asylums still shapes how we view mental health. Stigma remains, but advocacy and awareness have grown. Genealogists can approach this topic with sensitivity, recognizing the humanity of ancestors who lived in these institutions. Many asylum records are now preserved in state archives and may provide unique insights into family histories. The histories of asylums in America reflects shifting beliefs about science, medicine, and morality. As genealogists, understanding this context helps us better interpret the lives of our ancestors who may have struggled with mental illness. By seeking out records, reading between the lines, and approaching the subject with empathy, we can restore dignity to their stories. Thank you. Thanks for watching this Black Sheep Educational Extra. For more stories of not-so-illustrious ancestors and tips on how to find them in your own family tree, subscribe here on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. And if you'd like bonus content, visit us at Black Sheep Society on Buy Me a Coffee. See you next time.